For Insight, we are joined by Joseph Grinkorn, CEO of the Morris Group. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, how would Britain be affected if the country decides to leave the Eurozone?
I mean, it's a complicated question. There's a lot of positives and negatives, like on both sides. I think everyone at the top of their agenda is thinking about the financial ramifications. And now it's kind of split if it's going to help, the EU or it's going to help the UK really stay in or leave.
Well, what would be the impact on the European Union as a whole?
It'll be very, very negative, maybe even, financially really disabling to them. I mean, you have the UK, it's the sixth largest economy in the globe, and already in a very, very challenging times for the EU, slow GDP, slow wage growth, very, very high unemployment, and the UK is really an anchor to the EU, similar to Germany. So if they decide to leave, I think it's going to have very, very severe financial all kinds of ramifications on the markets and on the EU as a whole.
Because it sends such a perhaps negative signal here, but what is the stake for the U.S. economy? We see Barack Obama, President of the United States, really advocating for them to stay in this Eurozone bloc.
I think everyone, is really looking at all of the financial consequences, but also going back to the migrant policies, President Obama and Merkel really share the same policy, which is really allowing all of these migrants to come in, to the Eurozone and really kind of, flow separately, really throughout. And for the UK specifically, 500, migrants every single day come into the UK. And with that comes all the financial obligations, housing, financial support, etc., which is really a big problem for the citizens of the UK. There's a very, very high percentage of them that are very negative to that, but because they're a part of the EU, they have to follow those guidelines.
Interesting. So you do think that this perhaps could be a good move for the UK?
It could very well, be. Again, I look at them as an anchor. So being that they're a very, very strong country, they're very, financially independent as opposed to other countries that are in the EU. Again, problems such as the president said is trade. So if they decide to leave, you're talking about having to renegotiate, trade agreements with the rest of the globe, which could take years.
Fascinating, but the country does seem evenly split here.
I think time is really kind of against the EU. I think as time goes on, you really see that percentage ticking up of people thinking about leaving. I think at the end of the day, what happens is they're going to work a sweetheart deal with the UK to stay in the EU, and I think everyone is really, really happy at the end of the day, because I don't think anyone is looking to, to get hurt financially, really, in these tough times for the EU.
All right. Well, it looks like Germany is in a tough position here, looking to butter people up on the periphery. Thank you so much for being with us, Joseph Grinkorn.